Hi everyone, I'm Sharon and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be creating a slimline card featuring an excited group of critter friends who are riding their scooters as fast as they can to their local ice cream parlor. Their friend is already there and has 2 ice cream cones in hand, a double scoop in one and a triple in the other. This card is perfect for the summer season because who doesn't love ice cream on a hot summer day? Without further ado, let us begin with a quick overview of the Fawn products that I will be using to create this card. A full list of supplies can also be found in the description box below. The main images for this card come from the Scootin By stamp set, which has all of the necessary images to create a super fun scooter scene. I use the right-facing mouse, bunny, and scooters, as well as the sentiment "Scootin' by" to say, have a happy day. For my third scooter, riding critter, I use the fox from Butterfly Kisses because he's facing the right. To create my ice cream cones, I had to get a little creative. I used the snowball from Toboggan Together, and I combine it with a party hat from Really High Five. I also use the mouse from this stamp set. To build the ice cream parlor, I use the Sweetest Flavor stamp set, the rooftop from the Scalloped Treat Box Spring House Add-On, the door from the Scalloped Treat Box Beach House Add-On, and the word ice cream from the Reveal Wheel Family and Friends Sentiment stamp set. For the scene, I use the road border as the path for the critters to ride their scooters on, the puffy clouds borders to create the background bushes, the grassy hillside borders, the cloudy stencil, and the brick stencil. I load all of my images into my Misty stamping tool, ink them up using some Fawn Jet Black ink, which is alcohol marker friendly, and stamp them onto a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. I ink and restamp the images 3 times to ensure that I get a dark, crisp impression. Off screen, I colored my images with my Ohuhu alcohol brush markers. I stamped and colored a few extra images that I didn't end up having space for on the final card. I used some washi tape to position the dies over the images and run everything through my die cutting machine. And here are all of the die cuts from the different stamp sets I used. I just love this Scootin' By stamp set from Fawn's May 2021 release. The idea of having critters on scooters is just so much fun. Next, on a 3.5 by 8.5 inch of Strathmore Smooth cardstock, I ink blend some clouds in some salvage patina. Slimline cards measure 8.5 inches in length. I don't own any slimline border dies, so I have to use my 6-inch borders strategically to create a continuous 8.5 inch road. To do this, I make sure not to place the top cutting pad over the end of the die. As you can see here, I position the top cutting pad just off the very edge. This is called partial die cutting. If I place the top cutting pad over the entire die, as I would normally, I end up with 2 separate road borders, as I show you here. I use a 12-inch long piece of cardstock that I will be trimming down to 8.5 inches. I use the same partial die cutting process with the grassy hillside borders and with the puffy cloud borders. I will ink blend each of these pieces of the scene, starting with the bottom piece, which I decide will be a dirt ground. First, I use Antique Linen Distress Oxide for the overall dirt ground, and then I use Vintage Photo Distress Oxide to darken the edge. I smush some ground espresso onto my work surface, spray some water, and use a paintbrush to create some splatters for added texture. I use some squeezed lemonade for the road border and fossilized amber to darken its edges. Finally, I use twisted citron for the grassy hillside and the background bush pieces, and off-screen I use mauve lawn on those border edges. Next, I work on creating my ice cream parlor. I partially ink blend squeezed lemonade on one rooftop, fully ink blend the other in Kitsch Flamingo, and use salvage patina for the door. These three colors serve as the basis for my card design. For the exterior of the shop, I decide to ink blend some spun sugar distress oxide using the brick stencil. Next, using my steel ruler and an X-Acto knife on my self-healing cutting mat, I cut the frame from the yellow door and adhere it to the salvage patina door. The yellow frame is the perfect way to make the door pop. I've also used salvage patina for the ice cream here. The curve of the reveal wheel ice cream sentiment fits perfectly over the curve of the ice cream top. I use my MISTI stamping tool to ensure the sentiment is stamped in the right place. Next, I assemble a 2-scoop ice cream cone and a 3-scoop ice cream cone for my little mouse critter to hold in his hands. Then I use my Sakura Jelly Roll pen and add some white highlights to my colored images, which I think really helps to bring everything in the scene to life. For my sentiment, I heat emboss on black licorice cardstock, first by preparing the cardstock using an anti-static powder, then using Versamark watermark ink, and then for the heat embossing, I sprinkle on some Ranger superfine white embossing powder, tap off the excess, and pour the extra powder back into the jar. I use my heat tool to melt the powder to reveal a bright white sentiment that says, "Scootin' by to say, have a happy day." Off camera, I glued all of those border pieces I ink blended from earlier onto my cloud blended card front panel. On the very bottom is the dirt, next up is the road border, then comes the grassy hillside, and finally the bushes at the very top. Now, for the fun of assembling the card. The first thing I adhere is the ice cream shop. I tuck it behind the dirt ground so that it fits more seamlessly into the scene. I position the 3 scooters slightly apart on the path. As you can see, the colors of the 3 scooters are in keeping with the 3 colors of the ice cream parlor. I want to share with you my inspiration behind this card design. It actually comes from my own love for ice cream. When my brother and I were little kids, our mom would take us to Baskin-Robbins for ice cream as a treat. And to this day, Baskin-Robbins remains my top ice cream shop of choice. My favorite ice cream flavors from Baskin-Robbins are mint chocolate chip, strawberry cheesecake, and Jamocha almond fudge. I would love it if you would share with me in the comments section below what your top 3 ice cream flavors are and where you go for your ice cream treats. Lawn Fawn even includes helmets for the critters to wear for their added safety. I have critters wearing helmets that match the color of their scooters. So the fox gets the pink scooter and the pink helmet, the mouse gets the yellow scooter and the yellow helmet, and the bunny gets the turquoise scooter and the turquoise helmet. I actually have decided to not add the straps that come with this stamp set onto the helmets of the critters. I feel like the straps distract from the critters' faces. So as you can see here, I actually put one of the straps on and then I decided against it, so I left the straps off. I give the smallest critter a blue horn on his scooter for an added touch of cuteness. Next up, I attach the double and the triple scooped ice cream cones one into each of the second mouse critter's hands. I'm going to name this little guy Gus Gus, after the mouse from the original 1951 Disney animated classic, Cinderella. In the film, Gus Gus's love for food derives a lot of humor. And this mouse's passion for ice cream has him now delicately balancing two tall ice cream cones. And this just really makes me laugh and brings me back to my childhood reruns of watching Cinderella, the film, over and over. I use foam tape to adhere the critters onto their scooters to give them some added dimension. And I finish off the card front by popping up the sentiment strips with some foam tape and adhering them to the top right corner of the card. I flip the card over so that I can cut off the excess pieces with a large pair of scissors. To create the card base for my slimline card panel, I have a 7 by 8.5 inch piece of accent opaque 120-pound cardstock that I score at the midway 3.5 mark on the 7-inch side. I use some liquid glue to adhere the card front to the card base. And here we have it, my finished card. I have an excited group of critter friends zooming along as fast as they can on their scooters to their local ice cream shop. They arrive just in time to see Gus Gus carrying a double scoop ice cream cone in one hand and a triple scoop ice cream cone in the other. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I do hope that you will join me again next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.